ready.
Okay, I'm ready when you are then.
Thank you so much for joining this day two event, and you are the last speaker for the day. Welcome on stage, Sharon Melby. She's recognized as a leadership coach and cultural change expert specializing in guiding executives to become more influential and effective change agents. She supports professionals who often struggle with self doubt, feeling unheard among their management peers or experiencing burnout. So, that is the introduction of Sharon. Yes, you can start your presentation. Good luck.
Fantastic. So you can see my screen now?
Yes, yes,
And can you see me too? Because I can't see.
yes, yes.
Fantastic. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for putting together this kind of worldwide bringing together of women and talent and empowerment and community. And so I'm going to bring it home. Thank you. I'm going to talk today about what's going on in the world, how many of us can feel like things are just very hard, like we don't have a voice. It can cause us to be emotionally reactive. We can feel powerless. And so that's why I'm going to be talking today about how to be in your power, how to react less, regain control, and raise others. We want to be talking today about being in your power because you have to be in your power in order to use your power, in order to create change, in order to make things better for you and for everyone around you. So I'm going to dive right in, and I want to talk about the experience of being in your power and the experience of being out of your power. So when you are not in your power, it can feel like we go through our days like a thermometer. What do I mean by a thermometer? Have you ever experienced that you go through your day and your mental and emotional state is kind of going up and down? It's like other people act and you find yourself just reacting. When you are the thermometer, you got to kind of think about this even literally. The climate is created outside of you. So, what other people are doing, people that you work with, people in your family, people on the global stage, world leaders, it's like they are acting and they are creating the climate outside of you. And when you are the thermometer, all you do is react and register that temperature that is going on outside of you. You don't have any control over it. When you are the thermometer, it can feel like you are more the casualty rather than the creator of your experience. So, the very first thing that we're going to do in order to start being in your power is you're going to shift. You want to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. That's right. When you're the thermostat, you set the tone, you set the temperature. So, for any of us who have actually seen a thermostat on the wall, right? It's like this device, it takes into account all of the information that's going on in the situation, what everybody feels. So even literally, it takes into account the temperature and the humidity and the movement of the people and the motion and all of the things. And then it says we're going to harmonize all of these elements and we're going to make us at X degrees, like 20 degrees, right? That's what a thermostat does. And when you are the thermostat, there's so much power in this to be the one who creates the weather on the team, in your family, in your community or country. When you're the thermostat, you have a vision of how things could be. You have an idea of the outcome. You are suggesting to other people, come along with me on this journey. This is how we need it to be. This is happening. This is going to happen. You want to be the thermostat. I really want you to get this. You have more power than you think. You always do in every situation. I'll give you an example. So, recently, I had a phone call just a few days ago with a client of mine who I stopped coaching, I don't know, at least a year or more ago. And we had a catch up call. We really missed each other. And she said to me, this is what happened in the intervening time. She was at a company where she was a bit of a whistleblower, meaning that she was really trying to get to the company to clean up their fraudulent practices, right? And she was kind of calling them out. She was really getting them to change, and they were really doing a lot of cleanup of their practices. But the company CEO said that he was going to eliminate her role. They were going to terminate her because they were kind of really worried the way that she was really pressing them, right, to have to clean up their practices. So she heard about this from another woman leader in the company because that's the kind of sisterhood we have, right? So she goes into the meeting. Imagine this, with the CEO and the head of HR. And she starts off that meeting giving a presentation of the ways that she had overachieved and all the results that she had been able to get for the company. You know what the CEO and CHRO did? They ripped up their scripts to terminate her, and they kept her on, and she was able to negotiate kind of her go forward path with them. She was in her power. She was the thermostat. So I want you to think for a moment, like, where are situations where maybe you're being the thermometer, like where you're coming into a negotiation half defeated, or you're reacting to what somebody else is doing or not doing, and you are taking it personally, where you are giving your power away to the other person. So right now, you're going to start to shift from being the thermometer to being the thermostat. So if you want to be the thermostat, I want you to pop it into the chat and say, like, yes, thermostat. Yes, this is what I want to be. And if so, then I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to talk about, like, how do we actually do that? So the thing, let me give you one more example here. So this is someone who I coached who was at a big contracting company. And the very first day that we met together, she said to me, I can't take it anymore. Right. She just had it up to here. She's like, my manager texts me from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. My colleagues are not doing their fair share. Everything is rolling onto my plate. The head of IT is narcissistic. He harasses me. He's really mean and microaggressive to me. I just can't take it anymore. And I don't even want to. Like, she was like ready to leave. She was being the thermometer. Everyone else was acting and she was reacting. So I helped her shift to be the thermostat. We put together a vision, right, of how finance that she worked in and IT needed to work together, of how her colleagues, that everyone was going to kind of split up the work and get it done. And so she shared her vision. She did so in a way where she got buy-in from all of the key players. Her vision even went all the way up to the CEO, and she got buy-in from him as well. What was the result? She was the thermostat. She got buy-in, like I said, from the CEO. She was promoted 2 levels. She got a $75,000 bonus to retain and stay at the company and to help to clean up this situation. And their contractors abroad finally were getting reliably paid. So instead of making it about her and what she was reacting to and taking it personally, she was the thermostat. She said, what is the outcome that everybody needs here? She set the tone. She brought everyone along to a bigger picture, to the best possible outcome. You have more power than you think, even when it seems like you don't. See, your impact is determined not by reacting to other people's limitations, but by raising yourself and others to be limitless. Now, what do I mean by this term power? Because this is like a charged word, right? This is a word that, like, We all have a different meaning. And for a lot of us, it has a negative meaning. It means like being forceful or manipulative or selfish, something that we don't want to be. So, what do I mean by this term in your power? Well, I'm just going to go straight to the root. It comes from the Latin word posse, which means to be able, to be able. Being in your power, it's an ability. It's a sense of agency that you see you have options. There's things that you could do. It gives you a sense of sovereignty to stay in the state, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, that you intend, to not react and take things personally. But if you do, it's okay. We're all human. But to come back into that centered state and you decide your confidence and your belief in yourself, you're not being ruled by your worries about what other people think. In your power is a sense of efficacy that when you act, it works. People change. You get buy in, things become different. So let's be in our power. Now I'm going to go over 3 ways that I commonly see for women leaders to kind of get out of our power. So I want you to be doing a self check. Do I do this? Do I know colleagues or my sisters or friends who do this? Then we're going to start you off on some fixes. So the first is I want you to really reflect on a situation that's very kind of challenging. Maybe somewhere you are being the thermostat. Excuse me, you are being the thermometer. You are reacting. Where's a situation where it's challenging? It's stressful. You're being the thermometer. Because what's happening in these situations when you're not in your power, you are leaking your power. Just look at the way that water is leaking out of that bucket, all that life force, all of that knowledge, all of that know how that you bring, and just shh. When does that happen? Here's when it happens: when you're in a situation and you're focusing on what you can't control. The first question always to ask: where's my power? And how do you answer it? You look at that situation that's a challenge, and immediately you call to mind this diagram. It requires you to sort out what are the aspects of the situation that are within your control. I call this your 50%. And sort that out from the aspects of the situation you can't control, below the line, what you can't control. And anytime your attention is focused there, shh, leaking all of that delicious power that you have. So you might be saying to yourself, yes, Dr. Melnick, that sounds all good in theory, but you don't know my life. The things that are challenging to me, they are below the line. Well, hold on for a second. See, there's so many things that are within your control that we're going to pull up our focus. We're going to focus there, and you're going to get so far along to what it is that you want. You're not even going to be focused on the things that you can't control. So, because there are so many things, and I know you already have a big to-do list, you're already up to here, I've boiled it down to one simple rule. And I call this the 50% rule. And the 50% rule is be impeccable for your 50%. That means take 100% responsibility for everything that goes on within your 50%. And put your energies there. Be really, really effective there before you ever allow yourself to be frustrated or blaming or resentful or just horrified about what anyone else is doing. And you know what's so important about this is that as human beings, we are so set up to focus on what we can't control. Literally, the factory settings of our brain set us up to constantly scan the environment for what it is that's a threat that we can't control. You can overcome your biology. You are that powerful. Now, one more thing I have to say, because I know you. I know you, and it takes one to know one. I am not encouraging you to be a perfectionist or a control freak. I'm not saying that, because that would be trying to control the whole pie, the whole circle. Stay within your 50%. Focus on your 50%. That will get you so far to the outcome of what it is that you want. And actually, I've written a book on, you know, just, you know, uh, stockings full of strategies how you can be in your power, what you can control. So I definitely recommend that you pick up In Your Power for you and as a gift for anyone who you want to be in their power, who you want to be impeccable for their 50%. Now, if this resonates for you and if you're like, yes, this is definitely the way, for me to live my life. If you can think about a situation now that's challenging or stressful and just start to sort out, what can I control in this situation? And what can't I control in this situation? And I want you really to see that actually there's so many things in this situation that I can control. And I want you, if you really see how this can help you be in your power, I want you to take the pledge and I want you to commit to making this your way of life so that you detach from other people, that you're not burning yourself out focused on what you can't control. See, because burnout doesn't come from having too much to do. Burnout comes from having too little power. It comes from focusing on what you can't control. So, right here, right now, you take the pledge, it will burnout proof your life. So, if you resonate with this, then raise your right hand right here, right now. And then it's I, state your name, commit to being impeccable for my 50%. This way we can hold one another accountable. So, what else can we do? The first thing, we're going to stop leaking our power. The second thing, something, I'm going to just leave this slide up for a moment and I'm going to start by sharing with you about the next thing that we're going to do. You see, when I was younger in my career, and I'm going to see if I can come off of the share right now and see if I can just talk directly to you. Um, so, not sure if I'm able to do that. Let me see if I can do that and if I could talk directly to you. So, when I was earlier on in my career, I went to a rock concert. It was one of those where, there were tons of my favorite artists, and I arrived at the stadium, and there was a cluster of people over here to my left, and there was one person who I recognized. It was Tipper Gore. Now, she was the wife of the then Vice President of the US, Al Gore. So she was known to be a champion for women's empowerment. Without overthinking, I went right over to her. I shook her hand. I said, "Hi, I'm Dr. Sharon Melnick. I do research at Harvard Medical School, and I help people who've had difficult childhoods. I help them really be their best person in adulthood." She's kind of interested. We start talking. She's really into it. And at a certain point, she turns to her chief of staff and she says, "Melissa, would you get Dr. Milner's contact information? We want to bring her down to the US White House. That's where the president and vice president live, to share the policy implications of her research." I go home, I write something up, I send it off. I don't think about it. Several weeks later, the phone rings. Melissa, Tipper Gore's chief of staff, and she's telling me about how Tipper Gore, she's, helping millions of families around the US. And at a certain point, she pops the question. She says, "Will you come down to the White House to share the policy implications of your research?" So I picture myself around that table, the White House. And what do you think I say? Well, of course. I mean, of course I say, "No." Didn't exactly say no, but I did say something like, "Well, I'm still figuring out what the research says. Let me get back to you." For those of you who know US history, I never had another chance because her husband did not get elected. So, why did I decline an invite from the White House? Because I thought of myself around that table and I thought, they are going to think I don't know enough. They are going to think that I'm not smart enough. So I am not going to give them the opportunity. I am going to deprive them of an opportunity to judge me. So my true power in this situation came from my opportunity to help millions of families around the whole country. But I didn't exercise my power. No, I gave away my power. How many of you have ever had a White House moment, or are you maybe even having one right now? So, I want to talk with you about what I learned in my research at the White House so that you could actually make sure that you don't give away your power as well. So, just at a high level, we're all trying to get to that place in the lower right hand corner where we feel we come from confidence. We feel secure, we feel worthy, we feel valuable, we know it inside. But at any given moment, we might be in the lower left hand corner where we doubt ourselves, we judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves, right? We compare ourselves, and then we're not in that right hand corner. We're not fully expressing ourselves. But as human beings, we're wired in a way we're going to do everything we can to get to that place of confidence and security. So, what do we do as humans? What we do is we put our time and our energy and attention, we act toward other people in order to get other people to act toward you so that you can be confident and come from confidence. You try to act toward other people so they act toward you so you could get that confidence inside of you, because the quality of energy that you have inside of you determines the quality of your life. It's not how much time you spend at work and how much time you spend at home. It's the quality of the energy that you have inside of you that you carry that determines the quality of your life. Now, I've done research on this, and I know that there's 4 patterns that people do in order to get to that confident place. Now, let me go over these with you real quick. The first one is when we act toward other people to get other people to think well of us. So we say yes when really we mean no. When we over prepare and grind and waste a lot of time. When we seek reassurance for a decision we actually could trust ourselves to make. When we try to get approval, when we try to get other people to compliment us, we act toward other people so that they will say, "You did a great job. I believe in you." Or, so that they will validate you or approve of you in some way. And then you could say, "Well, my manager, or my client said I did a great job. I must be good at what I do." It's like you try to borrow their confidence. You try to see yourself through their eyes. The second way, you're not trying to get confidence from other people. You're not trying to get approval. You're trying to prevent disapproval. So, what happens there? When you try to prevent disapproval, you don't act. You don't speak up. You hold back. You don't put yourself out there, right? And you do that in order to prevent other people from judging you, like you decline an invite to the White House in your country. The third pattern is kind of perfectionist, where you really focus on the gap. You really worry about disappointing other people's expectations. And you really put yourself into a stress cycle. Perfectionist starts where you judge yourself, you're focusing on the gap, and then you get yourself onto a stress cycle, and it becomes a stress cycle, right? That you can't get off of because you are so about kind of grinding on those details, worrying about what other people think. And if you are not enough, no one else could ever be enough to make you feel that way inside. So, why do I talk about this? Because you could see that your actions on the left hand side of the triangle, they give away your power. The way you act towards other people, you can control how you act on the left hand side. You cannot control how other people act toward you. You are handing over your power on a silver platter, right? So it's like it's very mental, it's very stressful. You're like, what are they going to think about me if I do this, if I don't do this? But really, the only part you can control is how you act toward other people, and you are not able to control how other people act towards you, which is the thing that you are making determine how you feel about yourself. So we want to stop giving away your power. You don't want to go indirect. You don't want your energies going towards managing other people's perceptions. Rather, you want your energies going directly into the contribution you're here for. You want your confidence to come from inside, from your meaningful rewards of your contribution, from your source, whatever your source is. If we were going to make an analogy to your personal life, when you go indirect, right? When you're putting your energies into other people in order to involve them in your own confidence. Indirect, it's like you're trying to get love. Go direct is like be love. Indirect is trying to get love. Go direct is like feel lovable. Like you can control that. You can be that 24 hours a day, right? Feel lovable. When you go indirect, you're playing your small game. You're worrying about your momentary personalized concerns. What are people going to think about you? When you go direct, you play your big game. It's the difference between saying no to the White House because you're worried they're going to judge you for not knowing enough versus helping millions of people around the country. Now, I know you. Are you here to play your small game or your big game? Pop it into the chat. Your small game or your big game? You are here to play your big game. That's who you are. Now, there's been tons and tons of research on women in leadership. And when the more women we have in leadership, every single outcome, more profits, more innovation, more culture change, more safety. You want to believe in yourself and go for it. Studies have shown that women are more effective at using power. So I want to encourage you. Don't be thinking kind of, who am I to put myself out there? Rather, who will benefit from me putting myself out there? Go direct. Think about the contribution that you are here to make. Be so filled with your sense of purpose, you can't even worry what people will think about you. Oh, yes, I forgot. When I started to be in my power and not give it away, I did actually have a chance to present at the White House about 15 years later. Okay. Now, you want to have that sense of sovereignty where you decide how you believe about yourself, that you determine the state that you have inside of yourself. Now, I don't have a chance to see you here, so I'm going to move past an exercise that we were going to do, which is a rage dance break, a worldwide community sisterhood rage dance break, so that we could move that negative emotion through our bodies and fill ourselves up with pleasure research, going through our days asking, what would feel good for me? Hashtag a question that no woman ever asked, but we could start today. And then I'm going to move on to my third point. In this one, we want to make sure you're not leaking your power. You're not giving away your power. And you want to make sure you don't overlook the power that you already have. You want to own the power that you already have. You want to use your power for the good of all. So let me give you an example of this. I coached a woman who was the head of engineers at an engineering firm. And the women were the highest producers, but they didn't even get paid as much. The culture wasn't so good. The two owners were not paying much attention. And she goes to the owners and she says, before we start working together, of course, she goes to the owner, she says, we need to make some changes in the culture. Here are some things I'd like to do. And, we need the women to get paid more. And of course, the owners, they don't pay much attention. They kind of, put her off. She doesn't get a response. And she starts to second guess herself, like, oh, maybe this is a silly idea. She's not effective. She's overlooking the power that she already has. So I taught her how to influence effectively. And what was she able to accomplish? Let me go more into what it is that I taught her, and then I'll tell you what she was able to accomplish. So she was able to turn that no into a yes. So she went back again, but this time she didn't make it about like, these are my ideas or this is what I wanted. No. Instead, she reframed her proposal from what she thought was a good idea to what was in it for them. What was the picture that they had in their mind of the future? What was really motivating to them? So, of course, what was motivating to them is that they wanted to sell the firm, exit, and get a lot of money from it. All good. Where there's a motivation, there's a way. So she reframes, we rescript it, and she goes in talking about how the proposed changes are going to increase the valuation of the firm. She brings in some numbers. She gets some outside consultants to do the numbers. And we start to enlist some of the members of the board. And now she has a whole stakeholder campaign. It's not just her idea, but it's what it is that they want. They're going to increase their reputation, or have a better way of hiring people into their company. And when they sell, they're going to get more money. Ka-ching, ka-ching. That's what's on their mind. So that's one of the things she did. Another thing that she did is that she stopped only talking about what she was doing or had done in the past, and she started talking about the future. This is what's going to be like when we make these changes. And she created a mental movie in their mind. She created a picture in their mind, like future pace, like they were already there, like it was already happening in this outcome. And they were like salivating. This is what I want. Yes. Talk to me about how we're going to get there. And then a final thing that she did that I really want you to get, that you have more power than you think, right? So you don't want to just go for a promotion or go to a funder or just go to a client and just ask them. That's weak leverage. Instead, and you're putting all the power in their hands to say yes or no. Instead, you want to be the architect of that future. You want to say, this is where we're going. This is what's going to be like. You want to bring everyone along in your vision. And that's power. That's being the thermostat. That's exactly what she did. She got the owners to buy in. They voluntarily reduced their ownership in the firm by 30%, and they distributed that wealth amongst the women producers in the firm. And they were so impressed by her, they made her CEO. You have more power than you think. And a woman in her power raises everyone around her. And now we have time for questions, yes?
Wow, that was really powerful insight presentation, Sharon. So thank you so much, and we are closing this day two with such a powerful insight presentation by Sharon. It was really a very good closing for the day two event. Yes, the questions will be sent to your email address, and we are closing this session today. And please do join our next our day three virtual summit 2025 and post your questions. Thank you, and bye now. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.